Thank you. Good morning and welcome to this meeting of the Area Committee, of the Wigtownshire Area Committee, sorry, it's not been changed in my notes. I would like to let you know at this point that the Area Committee meeting will be live streamed on Teams and that a recording will be available online shortly after the finish of the meeting. Members may notice that when calling members to speak, I will refer to them formally using their title, e.g. Councillor Smith, so that it is clear who are councillors and who, by the process of elimination, are officers. To our remote participants, please follow the good practice guidance, which includes, for example, muting microphones and switching off your camera when you're not addressing the meeting. Item 1, so actually I'm going to change it up today, members. Item 8, I have a declaration of interest, which will require me to leave the room. So I'm going to move that to after the AOB, just so that we've got a clear flow as we don't have a vice chair today. So members, going on to item 1, could I ask Claire Rogerson as clerk for the said written apologies and which members are in the room and those linking in by Microsoft Teams, please? And I agree the remote participation.
Okay, thank you, Chair. We've got 6 members present today, 2 on Teams, being Councillors Marsh and McCammon. Apologies from the Vice Chair and everybody else here in the chamber in Stranraer. Obviously a vacancy currently for Ward 1 pending the upcoming by-election. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Claire. Members, moving on to item 2, declarations of interest. Do any members have any statements of connection or declarations of interest to declare? I'm not seeing any hands up, but I have a declaration of interest in item 8, as in one of my family members runs and operates a business from one of those units and is looking to make a purchase of that. So I think that it would be appropriate for me to leave the room for that meeting and give up the chair. Moving on to item 3, are members happy to approve the minutes from the 22nd of August 2025? I have nods in the room. Those are agreed. Item number 4, minute of previous minute. Sorry, item number 4. Item number 4, are members happy to approve the minutes from the 3rd of September 2025? I've got nods in the room. Item 5, this first report we are being asked to consider today is the development of the Regional Parking Strategy Delivery Plan for Wigtown. We discussed this item at length at the last meeting and have before us the final delivery plan for consideration, as well as an update on the progress being made with the decriminalised parking enforcement application to Transport Scotland. Ailsa Hammond and James Rhodes from Sistra are available to answer questions. Ailsa, do you have anything to add to your report? Is Ailsa with us today? Hi Ailsa, we were just calling you in to add to the report if you have anything to give to us.
Good morning. No, I have nothing extra to add. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll open the floor to the members for discussion. Councillor Dashper.
Good morning. Thank you for the report. 2 wee questions. So the draft of this originally came to us in September, and it says that the delivery plan has been adjusted to reflect comments made then. Can I ask what those changes were? And secondly, the report itself mentioned, it's, at the back of it, it's got a lot of target points, action points that they want to deliver to improve parking and such within the area. What is the sort of, on the council side, what is the delivery timelines for that? If we're identifying problems like signage and things and lines, and I think Port Rody's mentioned as a particular problem area. So we know we've got a problem there. When can we expect it to be seen to? Thank you.
Ailsa.
Good morning, thank you. Yes, we are looking at the delivery plans at the moment, and as you know, going forward towards DP as well, there is other things working alongside there. So what we're doing is looking at what we can take from the delivery plans to deliver before DPE comes into force, and the things that can be improved on with So we're really just trying to pick up what we can from there so that we can move on with that. Meantime, before actual DPE comes in and the improvements that can be made towards them, which could be things like the signs and the lines and things like that. Thank you.
Councillor Ashworth.
Okay, thank you. And just in terms of my first question, I don't know if you picked it up, but exactly what changes have been made following the draft report? Thank you.
Change has been made following the draft report. Obviously, we've went back and we've looked at things like the parking places order for the car parks coming up to see if there's any improvements we can make on them.
That's right, Ursula. Just briefly on that before bringing Councillor Hagman, there's a costing summary at the back of the report. Is that going to be met by the council in the current programme of works, or do we need to add budget for that?
For the costing, no, we will need to look at the budget for that.
Thanks for that. Councillor Hagman?
Thanks, Chair. It's just really a sort of an administrative point where it's referring to the delivery plan Wigton, but actually it's Wigtownshire, and we do need to get that updated. I know Councillor Dashboard's already moved and it's going to the review of standing orders, but it's actually really confusing. So, for example, if you look on page 43 or 17 of the report, it says demand for overnight parking by HGVs has been identified in Wigton, including in Stranraer and Newton Stewart. So anybody with any local knowledge is going to be really confused by this entire report. So could we just go through and do a quick summary and change everything that says Wigton in terms of the area to Wigtownshire? And in terms of the elected member feedback, apologies, I wasn't able to make the workshop on that. But can I just check, was the issue, it does reference the on-street parking design combined with narrow roads within specific locations in Stranraer, but the use of pavement parking or parking on both sides of the road is an issue. So will that be captured? I appreciate it's maybe a separate piece of work because that's separate legislation, but will that be captured within the report as well? Thanks.
Ailsa?
Yes, the pavement parking is obviously separate, and that's something that we will be looking to enforce when it comes to time as well. The traffic regulation orders for the area have been reviewed at the moment, and we have taken into consideration things that have been brought back to us that may need to change or may need to be updated as well. Regarding the pavement parking, we're ongoing at the moment until we have enforcement in place and systems in place to deal with that. We're looking at trying to raise awareness for that for areas of concern which have been brought to us. Thank you.
Councillor Hagman.
Thank you. Final point, apologies. The review of the suitability of timing restrictions and the use of paper discs, etc. I know that it exists and it's been a long-standing thing that we've done, but I'm also conscious it's 2025 and if visitors to the town have to somehow know which shops to go to get a paper disc to, are there any, dare I say, more modern, more accessible ways of dealing with that? As I say, I don't expect an answer today, but again, is that being considered? Because it just seems quite an archaic, and it's really simple, and maybe it is just the simplest is the best way, but are we at least looking to other areas of how they tackle this? Thanks.
Ailsa?
Yeah, we have been looking at other areas and what other areas are doing with things like that as well as regarding things like residents parking, permits as well, and how it works for other areas.
Just on the back of that one, could the likes of a QR code system be put on the street signs so that you can QR code check in to what street you're on, and that would register your parking, for example? On the back of also what Councillor Hagman was saying about Wigton and changed it to Wigtownshire, I'd picked that up as well, but I'd also picked up the first page as a picture of the White Sands, which isn't in Wigtownshire. Maybe it would be more appropriate to change that picture to the Newton Stewart Bridge or something like that.
Okay.
Thanks for that.
I'll take that back.
Councillor McCarman. Councillor McCarman.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Oh, sorry, Chair. Yeah, I was going to mention the picture of the white sand as well. My question, Ailsa, is more around the collaboration with Wigtownshire or local police. Obviously, when this comes into force, we'll need to work closely with them. What kind of work have we done with them? Have we collaborated with them yet to get their feedback? What are they willing to do and not to do? Because obviously we know we don't have an abundance of officers in town. So what is the situation going to be? Is it just kind of going to be ad hoc, or what feedback have we got from them, please?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, did you mean for sake of like enforcement when we start DPE?
uh-huh. Yeah.
What we were what we're looking at like we've took on a lot of things that other local authorities have been doing regarding how they enforce the streets and the kind of patterns and rotation that they use. So it'll be kind of fairly enforced so that it kind of covers the areas, but obviously not the same areas on the same days regularly, things like that, where it would become like the common kind of the thing where people know the traffic officer is going to be that day. And it will be, let's say, stationary parking, waiting restrictions, and the pavement parking as well, dropped cabs.
That's right, yes, sir. Councillor McCann, would you like to come back?
Yes, please, Chair. Thank you. So I guess thank you for that, Ailsa. I guess my question was more fitted around: have we even spoken to local police officers or the chief or whoever to discuss this locally, or as the whole DPE across the region? Is that happening in a different meeting, if you like, or a different portfolio? I suppose because we're in Wigtown Area Committee, I'd like to know what our Wigtown Area officers' feedback is, if there has been, or is that yet to be done?
Oh, right, I see what you mean now. Feedback on like the parking issues, is that what you're meaning, like presently, and areas which are causing concern? Sorry, is that what you're meaning?
Well, so the point is the DPE. There's no point in having DPE if there's nobody to enforce the criminal activity. So if you're on yellow lines and that, so there's very little point having it enforced and us going through all this work if the police are not going to be around to enforce fines and things. So I guess what my point is, have we liaised with the local police on that? And like you've just said there, how other local authorities and areas have been doing it. Have we engaged with the local bobbies, if you like?
Yeah, I see what you mean. No, I don't know if I'm understanding you right, but no, we haven't engaged as such in that way, because when the DPE comes into force, it will be the council staff who will be enforcing it, and it will be them who will be issuing the parking tickets, as you say, for the activities that are illegal, as in parking, waiting restrictions, pavement parking, and that sort of thing. So it will be probably that we will get some feedback from areas where the police can maybe tell us there's been problems or issues, but it will be the council staff who will be issuing the tickets and enforcing it. I hope that's answered your question. Thank
Do
you.
you mind if I come back in?
Yeah, come back in.
Just for a second. Yeah, so I didn't want to say what I'm going to say, but yeah, we're not going to have traffic wardens and council officers, hundreds and hundreds of them for every town. We know that. There's going to be few and far between to start with. So I suppose, will we be working in collaboration with the police to enforce these or not? That, I suppose that was, I didn't want to say that, but
right, sorry.
And what their opinion was on them being likely to be able to do it is what I meant. But anyway, I'm just going to leave it there, Chair. I think we've kind of established it. But thanks, Ailsa.
Thank you.
Thanks for that, Ailsa and Councillor McCann. I think when we go through the DPE, it becomes a civil matter, and the police can no longer enforce parking, although they can still enforce double yellow line parking, I believe. But James Rhodes was looking to come in. I'm hoping it was on that point.
It was just to say exactly as you've just said, Chair, that we, as part of the wider DPE approval to proceed through the Communities Committee last year, we did liaise with Police Scotland and local officers who essentially said, as you said, that once DPE is live, it won't be out of the police's hands, and recognising the lack of resource for enforcement at present, they'll obviously be happy to engage where there are problem areas and flag those, but it would sit with the council's officers as the primary source of enforcement.
So just to confirm on the end of that, they will still do double yellow lines and pavement parking?
Sorry.
Oh, do you want to go, Elsa?
Yeah, the DPE will take over from like all the stationary travel, like parking and waiting restriction offences. So the DPE will be the double yellows, the pavement parking, drop curb parking, anything that's a stationary issue. The police will still deal with like dangerous or obstruction and things like that.
That's that. Councillor Ingalls.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Page 42 at 5.3.4. It's regarding the summer parking. I'd like to thank the officers for taking this into account. It was something that was discussed a while ago, and it'll be really beneficial in Newton Stewart. 5.3.8, parking bay widths. Is there a standard width for a parking bay, or can you make them any width? I would just be interested to know, because they're a nightmare. Some of the parking bays are so tight for vehicles which seem to be getting larger nowadays. So maybe deal with those two first.
Elsa, have you got an answer for those of us that drive big monstrous SUVs?
Hi, thank you. There is a standard width. Off the top of my head, I can't remember it right now, but there is a standard width, and it was agreed, and I think ongoing the spaces will be that width, but I can get back to you on it.
That's right, Elsa. Oh, I see James has got his hand up. James, would you like to comment on that?
I believe it's 2.4 metre width is the standard, but there is no regulation that says it can't be wider than that. So you will see certain locations will make their spaces wider to accommodate, as you say, cars that are getting increasingly larger. But obviously, the larger the bay, the less capacity there is overall in the car park. So it is a due consideration.
That's right. One of the things that we're seeing is larger vehicles in the sense of electric cars. They seem to be larger as well. So do we have any scope of the legislation or the guidance of that increased bay size? Is that coming in? But I'll bring in Councillor Ingalls and you can answer them together if he's got another question.
Yeah, sorry, on page 43, 5.3.12. So again, HGVs and camper vans are a big issue in car parks, and it's how we're going to accommodate, especially in an area like, you know, the Newton Stewart area, which is sort of central for logging lorries and nighttime lorries coming in and taking their standard breaks, and they sometimes take up 8 or 10 parking bays at night. So it'll be interesting to see how that one pans out, and also with the camper vans, how we're going to manage that, and larger vehicles. What sort of plans we've got to accommodate camper vans and bigger vehicles. Thanks.
Yes, would you like to take that one?
Hi, yeah. That's something that we're looking at in the parking places order that is being worked on just now, and which areas we will have for like any larger vehicles like this to park. But if you want some more definite ones, I can get back to you on that.
That's right, sir. Councillor Ingalls, you have with that?
Yeah, I know that in some car parks we have signs that say no overnight parking for camper vans, or for that matter, HGVs, and we know we don't want to restrict HGVs. They need to stop somewhere, and they're parking in laybys outside cemeteries and one thing or another. So probably take that into cognizance when we actually develop these car parks or reline them. But yeah, the camper vans, I'm assuming that car parks will still have those signs up to say overnight parking, no overnight parking for camper vans. Thank you.
That's that, Councillor Hills. Ailsa, would you like to come back on that, or are you happy with that?
Not happy with that, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Marsh. Your mic, Councillor Marsh.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I very much welcome this report today, and I really look forward to summer 26. Hopefully, we can make that timescale for it being implemented. My question is in relation to the Sistra report. On page 32 of the report, bullet point 5 at 1.2.3, it talks about signage improvement, wayfinding improvement. And then again on page 41, under 5.2 parking quality, it talks about a programme of works being developed of quick wins that could start replacing and overlaying faded lines, markings, and also faded signs. I believe this is crucially important that we do this right across Wigtownshire, because if the scheme is to be successful, we have to get that right. Has the council embarked upon this already? Are you able to tell us that today? Because it would be a quick win to get the lines repainted and the signs clear and in place so that we can begin enforcement straight away when the wardens are on the ground. One example I can cite is Albert Street in Newton Stewart. There's been some remedial works done outside of the Old Bank of Scotland where the pavement has been kind of increased in width into the carriageway. It currently has no lines there. There'll be multiple situations like that right across the region. And if people are stopping there because it isn't lined currently, it creates a real headache. So my question would be, has the council embarked upon this quick win of relining and making sure our signs are in place? Thank you.
Ailsa.
Hi, thank you. When we're looking at the improvements that we can make at the moment, like the lines and signs, we're trying to come up with a plan from the delivery plans that are within what we can do before we start like changing anything for DPE and things like that as well, regarding the car parks and all the council car parks that we're doing the car parking places order for at the moment. There's possibly some changes in some of them as well. So some of the lines and signs may have to wait till that's all complete. So we're just actually looking at what we can do meantime for a quick win.
That's right, Ailsa. Councillor Marsh, are you happy with that response?
Yes, I don't know if it fully answers my question. So has the council not embarked upon this kind of quick win of identifying areas where lines are faded and started applying a reapplication? Have we not begun that yet? Do we have to wait? Are we allowed to begin that yet?
So just before we go on, Ailsa, if we go to 6.1.2, it bans these actions into categories, and we've got short-term 0 to 2 year implementation, which I think they believe would be between £0 and £50,000. I assume that finance isn't secured yet. So until there's an agreement, there's no quick wins. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt with that, Councillor Marsh, but I think that's pertinent to it. Ailsa?
I'll come back in. The car parks and the lines and the signs, there's been quite a lot identified where the upgrade and it's needing done, but there's not actually been that like set off to actually start it yet, if you know what I mean. Because there's quite a lot of the signs which are like from before, which aren't like relative to what the enforcement will be in the future, if you know what I mean. So does that make,
Councillor Marsh?
is that what you were asking?
Thank you. So no, thank you, Chair. No, it does make sense. It does make sense. I'm just concerned that obviously we're now the beginning of November, and we're hoping to have this in place in summer 26.
Yeah.
And we don't have, it appears, according to the Chair quite rightly pointing out, that the budget has to be sought for this. You know, we really need this to be in place, and we need it to work. And for it to work effectively and efficiently, those lines, the quick win has to be there. My worry is that are we gonna, you know, stumble towards this because we don't have the finances in place to redo these lines, and we're gonna miss this deadline of summer 26, because I think it would be really beneficial for the region to have this in place and working correctly and efficiently. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that, Councillor Marsh. No, we don't want to be sleepwalking into anything. Councillor Dashburn?
Thanks, Chair. I think, to my knowledge, one of the main pressure points when it comes to road lining and such is that the council does not have its own in-house lining machine. And I think that's, given how isolated Wigtownshire can be sometimes, the fact that we're relying on a private contractor situated a fair distance away, miles and miles away, I forget where exactly it's from, but it's not Dumfries and Galloway, coming here, and you know, they're weather dependent, they need to consider things like travel time, accommodation even. I don't know, Chair, if maybe the area committee maybe wants to explore making inquiring with the directorate about what's happening with procuring an in-house lining service, perhaps. Thanks.
You raise a very interesting point there, Councillor Dashburn. It's always baffled me that we bring a company from, I think, Manchester to do lining in Dumfries and Galloway. Ailsa, is there any scope for the council to have our own line machine, or is there a reason why we don't have one?
I'm sorry, that's something that I've not got an answer for you, but I could come back to you with that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to say it. Oh, Kirsty would like to come in, I think, or she's pointing to me.
Maybe just to advise members that 4.9 in the report, the first bullet is that within Ailsa's service there's a working group of internal council services, including procurement, legal, BTS, etc. So that may be something that could be picked up, even to be looked at by the working group itself.
Sorry, Councillor Hagen.
Apologies, Chair, I'm not meaning to, but I think at E&I, I think Karen Downley's already given an assurance that that's already being looked at, so it's an existing piece of work, but actually adding Councillor Dashford's point to that team, I think, is important.
We'll take that as an action in our minute, I think, to make, I don't know, do we make a request or a recommendation that we look at that?
I think maybe we could just get some information communicated to members of the committee about what's happening in regards to that. That'd be useful. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor Dashburn. Any more comments, members, before I wrap this one up? I'm not seeing any more comments. Ailsa, would you like to come back in and sum up, or have you got nothing to add?
No, I've nothing got to add. I'll take away the points that I mentioned and try and get some more information.
Thank you very much. So, members, we're moving to the recommendations. We're asked to agree the content of the final regional parking strategy delivery plan, Wigtownshire. In the report, I think we need to change that to Wigtownshire rather than Wigtown. Report for progressing to adoption at appropriate committee, paragraphs 4.2 to 4.5 and Appendix 1 and 2. Note the progress being made with the decriminalisation of parking enforcement, DPE. Application for parking enforcements in paragraphs 4.6 to 4.9. Members, are we happy to agree these recommendations? Yep, not a problem. Thank you. Ailsa, thanks for being with us today. Same to yourself, James.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members, moving on to item 6. Item 6 is a report from the interim head of Economy and Environment, Sharon McMillan, providing an update on local place plans and registrations. This report is asking members to agree to register local place plans which have been prepared for the Isle of Whithorn and Kirkmaiden Both plans are considered to meet the legislative requirements and contain a range of actions that have been identified by the community through extensive consultation and engagement. I would like to welcome to the meeting John Doig, Senior Planner, who is here to answer your questions. And John, do you have anything to add to this report?
Good morning. Thank you, Chair. I would like to add that on Appendix 4, pages 131 and 135 of the agenda pack, that a map and table have not properly been formatted. This will be rectified prior to uploading to the Council's local place plans pages, and I have a copy I can share on the screen if required just now.
Thanks for that, John. Thanks for that, John. Members, Councillor Hagman.
Thanks, Chair. So I was going to just reference the Isle of Whithorn Place Plan, and obviously it's for us to note because this has been developed by the community. And I think, you know, just touching upon the conclusion within the statement on page 61, it does say that the initial reticence to participate in consultation stemmed from a perception that the Isle, being so small, would not be heard. And I just think it's really important that we reaffirm our commitment to all our communities, and each one is absolutely important. I've, you know, had the pleasure of attending the Isle of Whithorn Community Council where this has been discussed, and you know, I would just commend everybody that has been involved because it's been a huge piece of work. I think for some of our smaller communities, we absolutely should recognise that there's maybe a more onus on individuals to take that forward, and just to put on record my thanks. This is their place plan, and I'm quite happy to agree with their recommendations. I think it's important we listen to them. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor Abbott. There was no question in there, so I'll not invite John in. Any other members? Councillor Dashper.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm glad we could take this report today. In relation to the Kirkmaiden place plan, just want to put on record, I guess, how the work that they've done has been amazing in order to engage the community. It was great to see them at the Community Council Conference do a presentation, and I think that's perhaps a model of the way forward about how to actually engage the community, prepare a document, and about listening to local people. So just to put on record my commendation for the work that they've done. One small question, 4.4, page 52. There's a lot there about the Isle of Whithorn Place Plan in relation to legislation and guidance, Town and Country Planning Acts, planning circulars and such. When I flip the page and look at the Kirkmaiden piece, that information doesn't really seem to be there. There's no mention of the national planning guidance for the Kirkmaiden Place Plan. So, I mean, I'm not saying they don't comply, because I'm sure they do, but I'd be keen to hear John's thoughts on you know, how this all sits for Kirkmaiden with planning guidance. Thank you.
John.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Quite frankly, it was actually to do with a timing element. I drafted this text. I hadn't received their statement at the time of submitting it to governance, so that's probably why it's not in there. But I felt it was covered in the local place plan. But I can assure you that officers are confident that, based on the information received from the Community Council, the members are being asked to make a decision that complies with the legislation. So it's all there. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's Councillor Dashper. Councillor Marsh.
Thank you, Chair. Just to agree with Councillors Hagman and Dashper, yeah, I fully commend both local place plans and welcome them into the council register. We talked about quick wins in the last item, and we've also in the past, in relation to local place plans, talked about them hopefully not being, you know, left on a shelf after hours and hours of hard work from volunteers in these communities to produce these documents. And on reading through specifically Isle of Whithorns, not Icel, as the typo says in the first line. I'll let you off for that one. The Isle of Whithorn place plan. Sorry, I've lost my track there. Yeah, quick wins. Yeah, sorry. It talks about its asks, and one of the major things that have come through there, I think could very quickly and simply be rectified. It's in relation to the roads within the Isle. They've requested, and they said the community would be welcome to the 20 mph speed restriction that is slowly being rolled out across the region, they would welcome that, and potentially also one of the BES LED speed signs. I think as a council, we could expedite these asks within that place plan, and that would show that this plan isn't being left on the shelf, and that as a council, we are truly supporting these communities after the hard labours and effort that has been put in to make these plans. I just wonder, these three issues that relate to the roads, the potholes, the speed sign and the LED sign, is that something that we could take forward and expedite that so they don't have to wait and they could really see their plan coming to fruition? Thank you.
John?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. Yes, once the plans are registered, it really is in the domain of the community to kind of push these forward. But we will always be there to help assist them and make contacts with the relevant departments to kind of push these small wins through. We do not want to see these left on the shelf either, and they will be taken account in the local development plan 3 when that is adopted. Thank you.
Councillor Marsh, would you like to come back on that one?
No, grand, thank you, Chair. I'm satisfied with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ingalls?
Yeah, just a point on the leaving it on the shelf comment. I think, you know, delivering a place plan is the first step, but that place plan needs updated every couple of years, and community groups, you know, they've got a responsibility to make sure that their place plan is current, and it's also available to all community groups within the area, because there's a lot of good information in place plans. But I wouldn't like to see the council just sort of step back and say, well, it's up to the community groups then. And I don't know how we go about ensuring that that engagement continues, John. It's maybe more a question for Chris Jones, but it's certainly something that I think it's important that, having given the time and effort to develop their place plan, that we don't just leave them to it. You know, there's some form of support there. Thank you.
John?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that is how we go about engaging with these communities afterwards, and how to actually implement that is something we still need to work on. I think our focus is kind of how we also take account of them in the local development plan. We're still working on that, but absolutely we've still got a local place team for each of these areas, so that's still in place. So yeah, we will need to work on how we kind of move forward and help these communities deliver their actions. Thank you.
That's right, John. Councillor Hargan.
Thanks, Chair, for letting me back in for a second time. I think on the back of Councillor Marsh's comment there about where there's quick wins, I'm conscious we do get regular updates from the directorates within Wigtown Area Committee. I'm looking on the forward plan, and there's nothing on the forward plan at all for Wigtown Area Committee, so it'd be useful to get that updated. But, you know, can we ensure that when we are getting those director updates, things like the 20 miles an hour speed limit is actually captured? I don't know if as yourself, Chair, within your business meeting you can request that. Obviously these are officers' reports, but you know, whether there is an opportunity to request that coming forward. Just in terms of page 53, there are 4 organisations covering 4 different areas within Wigtownshire that are still at various stages, and with no Wigtownshire Area Committee scheduled before the end of January. If somehow these organisations do manage to pull something together, what is the process for them to be adopted? Because we don't have a Wigtownshire Area Committee before then. John?
Oh, sorry, Councillor, we were coming.
Sorry, and just can we get the typo? It's Glentrool and Bargardine Community Trust as opposed to Bardena. Thank you.
That's a lot, Councillor. John?
Thank you, noted. I will sort that. Yes, in terms of future local place plans coming along, we have said, and we've communicated this to communities, that they need to have their local place plans either registered or ready to be registered by the end of January. So for those that are still to submit, we would need them to be submitted to the council by the end of January, and then we would probably take them to the next, we would be taking them to the next Wigtown Area Committee, which I believe is in March. So we're expecting quite a few. Thank you.
Busy month, January, tax returns and place plan returns. Just to make sure that we've got a note of what Katie requested there, Kirsty. Yeah, that's excellent. Councillor Dashburn.
Yeah, and just to sort of come on the back of that one, and this is maybe for Kirsty, yourself as the ward of, team, Port Patrick Community Development Trust, I keep mentioning this because it keeps cropping up in our reports for place plans and such, that they've put in this expression of interest. And I've asked for updates, but I'm not really sure where they're at in terms of that, or how proactive they're being in regards to developing their local place plan. And would it be possible to just to reach out to them and maybe give a briefing to members on that? Yep. I see Ingrid's nodding in the back, so thank you.
Kirsty?
Happy to do that, Councillor Dashboard, just for with regards to Port Patrick and your earlier point, Chair, around Councillor Hagman's point. If I'm understanding correctly, and I'm looking to clear that there's either an action or a potentially addition that would ensure that directorate updates reflect place plans for the area.
Councillor Hagman, is that accurate?
In effect, yes, but that's leaving it very wide open. It was actually in response to Councillor Marsh's point, specifically the 20 miles an hour zones and the speed systems. I know that we do have a policy for 20 mile an hour rollout, so maybe getting specific updates so that we can then identify to communities that we've heard and we've actually asked for that update.
That's what Councillor Hagman, that's loud and clear, I think. Members, do we have anyone else to speak? No. I'm going to ask a quick question, John. Sorry, let me clear the throat. Earlier this week, members from Ward 1, maybe the whole committee, received an email from a community member in Kirkmaiden that was dissatisfied with the process and the consultation. We've raised this with officers, and are you happy that the consultation was appropriate and correct? Just for our minds, please, peace of mind, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, so officers are confident that based on the information received from the Community Council, the members are being asked to make a decision that complies with the legislation. I think they've went above and beyond personally. So I think, yes, they do comply.
Thanks for that, John. So members, Councillor Ashworth looking to come in?
I believe this is in reference to a specific location within the local place plan. My understanding is that the building was added to this, last year was added to the vacant and derelict land registry. So that's maybe something for the community to have awareness of. Thanks.
How would we make the community aware? Who would that be? Would that be for you, John, to make the community aware of that, or is that for the ward officer?
Either. I'll happily let them know. I was looking at it yesterday anyway, so I can certainly let them know it's on that. And I can get them further details as well if they need it from the officer that runs the vacant and derelict land register.
That's great. Thank you very much, John. I'm happy with that, Councillor. That's very excellent. So members, I'm moving on to recommendations. I've got no hands up there, so one note, the Isle of Whithorn and Kirkmaiden local place plan supporting statements, appendices 1 and 2, demonstrating that local place plan legislative requirements have been met. 2, agree that the Isle of Whithorn and Kirkmaiden local place plans, appendices 3 and 4, are registered by the Council as local place plans and are added to the local place plan register on the Council's website. And 3, note the progress being made by the community bodies who have expressed an interest in preparing a local place plan as set out in paragraphs 4.11. Are members happy to approve these recommendations? Yes. Thank you, members. Members, moving on to item 7. The next report provides an update on the multi-agency approach to tackling antisocial behaviour in the Wigtownshire area, highlighting progress on prevention, community engagement and enforcement from April 2024 to March 2025. We're pleased to welcome Martin Ogilvie, Resilience and Community Safety Manager, who is available to answer questions. Martin, do you have anything to add before we go to members' questions?
Nothing to add, thank you, Chair.
Andrew Hay is also available online, and we'll welcome Andrew as well. Members, do we have any questions? Councillor Marsh.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, no, again, very much welcome this report. It's absolutely clear that the strides that have been made with the inception of this, the increased collaborative working between all the bodies here, specifically within Cree Valley, within Ward 2, in the last reporting term, as it says, between, was it March? Sorry, April 24 and March 25, there has been a significant decrease in antisocial behaviour, and that can only be put down to the hard work that has gone on within Newtonstewart and the Cree Valley. But the one thing I think that is missing from the report is no mention of the third sector involvement. There's been, certainly within the Cree Valley, great collaboration with Newtonstewart Initiative and their works with D&G Council Youth Works. And I think that has gone great strides to see a massive reduction within antisocial behaviour. But no, I commend the report and the hard work that's been done, because there's been clearly a tangible difference, a positive difference made because of this. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor Marsh. Would you like to come back on that, Martin?
I'm not sure there was a question, Chair.
No problem. Moving on to Councillor McCarman.
Sorry, Chair. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. Martin, through you, Chair. I just wondered, last year, or certainly across the last 18 months, or about 18 months ago, should I say, that I created a working group to tackle antisocial behaviour with various parties, so the likes of the police, social work, members, officers, etc. And it became apparent back then that there was a kind of disconnect between social work and the police when it came to antisocial behaviour within youth. Is this something that you can comment has maybe got better in terms of collaboration, or are you not in a position to comment on that, Martin, please? Because it's an important link there with the antisocial behaviour with regards to youth, certainly. So it's more a specific point that you maybe can't really comment on, but I'd appreciate it if you could let me know.
Martin?
Yeah, through you, Chair. No, I recognise what the council are saying. Clearly, the police and social work have different remits, different raison d'etres for existing and doing their work, and therefore different approaches to enforcing. And the police might go for more of an enforcement function to change behaviours, and social work might go for a more collaborative approach, working with the individual, working with the family, working with the school. I think the two things are complementary. Clearly, through the forums that we have, through the active case management panels, and through the patterns and trends groups, police and social work colleagues are on these regularly and will discuss what the best strategy is for that individual's needs. So the two approaches might be different, but they'll be complementary when it comes to putting together a package to try and moderate the antisocial behaviour. So it's just where the agencies come from, I think, that are different, but we all clearly want the same outcome, and that is to moderate antisocial behaviour.
Councillor McCallum?
No, that's reassuring. Thanks, Martin. Thanks, Chair.
That's that. I'm going to bring Councillor Marsh back in, because I think there was a question in his first gamble, but maybe a bit nuanced.
So, sorry, Chair, no, maybe I wasn't clear. It was just to say that I was surprised not to see a specific mention within the report of the third sector organisation, particularly within the Cree Valley Newtonstewart Initiative, because I think the setup there, you know far better than me, Martin, is quite unique, is it not? That we have this service level agreement in place, and I think that because of that, we have seen a marked downturn in antisocial behaviour. I'm just wondering why maybe that wasn't within the report.
Martin?
No, it's a fair point. I understand that better now, thank you. I thought it was just an observation first time. I will take that off table, I'll liaise, and I'll come back through you, Chair, to the committee, particularly to Councillor Marsh's question, and clarify the position on the initiative and their involvement in tackling behaviour locally. I don't feel qualified to come in and say that on the record in this meeting just now.
That's right, Martin. Councillor Hagman. Sorry, David.
I think it's Councillor Ingalls before me, but yeah, fine.
Sorry, I've got the free hands over. Councillor Ingalls.
Yeah, maybe I should have declared an interest in this one. I'm involved in the initiative, and it would appear that the service level agreement that's in place between the initiative and the youth work enables massive amount of money to be brought in and support D&G youth work, employing youth workers and a senior youth worker, and they do outreach work. So they go out into the town and engage with kids who are hanging about on the streets rather than coming into the darts night or whatever it may be, to try and encourage them to be part of what's happening in youth work. And it does appear to work, Martin. So it's something that I don't know, whether there is that sort of replicated across the region or it is unique. But I know that as an initiative, they bring in, the last grant was about 120,000, I think they brought in for youth work.
And I think in the report that went to Education, Skills and Community Wellbeing on the annual report for the activity in the financial year that we were talking about here, that was covered in the social work report that was embedded within the antisocial behaviour partner strategy. So it might not have been particularly fleshed out in this report today, but it was already covered in the report to Education, Skills and Community Wellbeing, which is my parent committee.
Okay, I think the important thing is that if it's working and it is having an impact on antisocial behaviour in an area, that it can be replicated. Obviously you've got to have a third sector organisation that's prepared to be involved in it, but it is something that might need to be looked at across the region. Martin, thank you.
Well, fair enough. I'll take that back to colleagues in social work. Clearly, my community safety team is mainly involved around low-level enforcement of environmental issues like dog fouling, littering, abandoned vehicles, and fly tipping, collecting stray dogs. So that's kind of out of the remit. But I'll take that away. I'll raise it with social work and see whether there's an opportunity to replicate some of the good practice that's been identified. Thank you.
Thanks for that, man. Councillor Hagman or Councillor Dashbar, you both had your hand up when I looked over. Who's first?
Okay, I'll go first. Thank you. So no, we have got the report here, and thank you, Martin, and your team for bringing it forward. I am aware it has been to the Education Skills and Community Wellbeing Committee on the 9th of September, as has been referenced a couple of times. I don't sit on that committee, so apologies if the detail is in there. And I do see that as part of a background paper, there is the report within that. But is there a role for area committees in terms of that work plan or monitoring at all, or is it purely for information sharing? So that would be my first sort of question. A comment on as well within the report is just really to say thank you to the team. I know we've got a mediation service. I think it has been reported that it has not got a good uptake, and it does rely on volunteers both coming to the table on that. But whenever I have requested support from the team in terms of mediation, that has been taken forward, because although there's a lot of mention of youth antisocial behaviour, I think we need to be really mindful that antisocial behaviour covers a myriad of issues and is absolutely no way just associated with young people, because there can certainly be some real, quite aggressive antisocial behaviour from people of all ages. Thank you.
That's right, Councillor Martin.
Yeah, no, just to recognise these points. So first of all, in terms of the question of governance of antisocial behaviour area committees, again, maybe for something for colleagues in governance to look at in terms of the remits of area committees in regards to this kind of portfolio. Just on that, though, there is work to make our data more open to the public. We in the community safety team capture a lot of data, and the first appendix to the report that went to the Education, Skills and Community Wellbeing covered a dashboard of activity that my team have done in the last year. It doesn't cover that plethora of broader activities that lots of council services, partners and third sector cover, because it is just so wide a remit. The police chair the antisocial behaviour strategy meeting 4 times a year and try to capture that, and regardless of our best efforts to try and make sure that all partners attend and all partners tell us what they are doing. It is a bit like herding cats at times. It's trying to get a full picture on all the antisocial behaviour or activities taking place to counter or to tackle antisocial behaviour, because it just is so big. And on the final point, the mediation question, you're absolutely right. And I'm talking region-wide now, councillors, but there was 87 offers of mediation made by my team based on a request by one party. But clearly, to mediate, you need two parties willing to participate. And despite best efforts and repeated offers, and my team reaching out and trying to accommodate by selecting venues and offering multiple dates, if one of the parties involved in a dispute doesn't want to attend, the mediation can't take place. So sadly, out of the 87 offers that we made in the reporting year, only 10 were accepted. But we have to say, though, that when we do get people in the room, we generally have a successful outcome. But people have to be willing to enter it with an open mind. And of course, we normally require both parties to compromise in some way to reach agreement. Thank you.
Councillor Hyman, you'd like to come back in?
Yeah, just to say thank you so much for that. I appreciate you can't bring everybody to the table, but one of the very first pieces of casework I took up back in probably 2017, maybe 2018, no, it would have been 2017, was for a request for mediation. And I tentatively went back, you know, a couple of months later thinking, goodness, I hope this worked. And actually all parties were like busy mates again. It was really wonderful. The team did an outstanding job in that case. So while there might not be a high hit rate for them, when it does work, it is absolutely, you can see the professionals at work and it's really welcomed. So thank you.
Just to come back, thank you. It's nice to have positive feedback, and my team are well trained because of the very nature of it. We have all members of the staff trained, but they don't get many opportunities to actually exercise it, given the low take up. And often these issues that spiral out of control start with pretty low level problems that neighbours just sit on for years, get frustrated with, and often the solution's fairly straightforward. And if that idea of kind of nipping a problem in the bud can be done in avoiding civil action or avoiding it spilling over into more overt antisocial behaviour, then that certainly will take the win, on these accounts. Thank you.
Absolutely, it's good to avoid community boxing rings. I've got a note here from Kirsty just before I bring in Councillor Ashburn, that there will be community engagement meetings planned for January and February for the Wigtownshire Area Committee following discussions in September. They're avoiding Christmas because they're avoiding December due to Christmas. But maybe Kirsty might want to add more to that, or have I just covered it all?
No, I think you've covered it. Thanks.
Councillor Ashburn.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I don't want to get parochial, but that's probably what an area committee's for. Just in relation to abandoned vehicles, it has been raised with me. There's some, for instance, I think are caravans, which have recently been getting council yellow stickers on them, which say that the council is aware of them. And I see Andrew Hayes on the call. So just wondering, because when the public see these stickers, they go, the council's aware of them, but it's still here. So what is the policy in regards to that? Thank you.
Very good question, Councillor Ashburn. Martin?
Yeah, no, thank you. It's a legal services policy that we identify it. We will do as many checks as we can, but given the limited intelligence that an abandoned caravan might present to us, often it's a case of just reporting it to the roads team, and the roads team will take appropriate action, and we can share that policy with members if they wish. But it's a procedural policy that just keeps officers right in terms of the legal process to dispose of an abandoned caravan. And it's not just caravans, we now actually just call it things, because there are so many trailer type units that can be abandoned, and we make sure, obviously, we follow the legal advice to make sure we do things properly. We don't dispose of private property. It has to be proven to be abandoned, and often that can be quite expensive to councils' road services to dispose of it appropriately.
Councillor Ashburn.
Yes, no, thank you. I believe there's one at present in Hanover Square car park, perhaps, but it has a sticker on it, so you're aware of it. But no, thanks for that, Martin. Thanks.
Martin, on the back of that question, within the policy, do you know what the kind of timescales are of those stickers? Is that 6 months? Is it a month?
No. I don't actually know that top of my head. Andy lives and breathes this more than me. Andy Hayes, my team leader that covers community safety in the west of the region. So if Andy knows, he can perhaps come in and just help me out here and tell councillors or remind councillors what the timeframes are.
Andy?
Thank you, Chair. There's a total difference when it comes to caravans. The problem is that we do not have the appropriate legislation to remove a caravan, that we need to rely on our colleagues in roads to remove the caravan. Yes, we can deal with abandoned cars under the present legislation that we hold, but caravans, we need to hand it to the roads department to remove it. Therefore, it really has to be a decision of roads when they take the appropriate action. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. Andy, coming back on that, the caravans in general, when you're talking about council car parks aren't insured to have domestic domiciles on them, such as caravans. What action can you take to stop these parking and staying overnight in council car parks, such as the Breastwork car park in Stranraer?
None currently. So I think that refers back to the previous item an hour or so ago about decriminalised parking, and I know that overnight parking and the use of car parks is all part of that strategy. Thankfully, and thank you to members, as of just over 2 years ago, that responsibility was taken away from my team and given to the road service. So it's significantly simplified my life. Thank you.
So just on the back of that one, who's liable for these car parks then if one of these caravans was to explode or have a leak or something like that damage the car park? Would the council's liability cover that, or would that be for the owner of the van?
Outside my area of expertise, Chair, I'm afraid. If you want an answer, perhaps that can be picked up and we can transfer that to a question to our roads colleague to come back, or legal. It's just not something I've been asked before, I don't think.
That's fine, Martin. It's just one of my keen interests. Thank you. So, members, moving on, do we have any more questions? I'm seeing shakes of heads in the room, so no more questions for you, Martin. Moving on to recommendations, members are asked to note that the partnership work to prevent, intervene, engage and enforce antisocial behaviour in the Wigtownshire Area Committee, set out in paragraphs 4.2 to 4.5. Are members happy to agree with the recommendation? Happy to agree, no problem. So, members, we're going to bypass item 8, as I said at the beginning, and we'll move on to item number 9, which is our last report is, well, it's not our last report, so this report is Tackling Poverty and Inequalities Budget Monitoring Report for 2024 to 2025. That details the impact of funds granted by Wigtown Area Committee to a number of community organisations last financial year. Ingrid Gemmell, our Ward Manager, is available to answer questions. Ingrid, do you have anything to add?
Excuse me. Thank you, Chair. Yes, just first of all, just to say apologies for the late update to the appendix. The reason for that was because the date when the monitoring information was requested from the organisations, it meant that there was a bit of gap in between when those monitoring forms come in and the reports for this meeting being ready. So that's something that we need to look at in future. You'll also note that we are still waiting for the monitoring information from DG Youth Project, but can reassure you that that has been requested and we will provide an update to members as soon as we have it.
That's right, Ingrid. Members, do you have any questions? Councillor Dashper.
No questions, just to put on the record that it's good to see lots of local organisations benefiting from the funds, and it's doing a lot of good locally, so thank you.
That's right, Councillor Dashper. Any other questions or statements, members? I'm seeing no hands up, so I'll take us to the recommendations. Members are asked to note the performance monitoring information from projects / initiatives that received support from the Area Committee. Tackling Poverty and Inequalities Budget in 2024 to 2025, detailed in Appendix 1. Are members happy to agree with the recommendation? I'm seeing nodding heads. Yes. Moving on, members, to item number 10. Any other business deemed urgent by the Chair? I have not had anyone raise any items, so thank you for attending today, and we'll move on to item number 8, where I will have to vacate the Chair and pass over to Claire Rogerson.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Can I ask for a volunteer to chair this item, please? Councillor Ingalls. Thank you.
Okay, item 8, disposal of industrial units at Woodley Road, Black Parks Industrial Estate, Stranraer. Report by Interim Assistant Director, Transport and Infrastructure. At item 8 this morning, we have a report on the industrial units at Woodley Road, Black Parks Industrial Estate, Stranraer. The report details 4 buildings and associated land that have been declared surplus following a decision of the Economy and Infrastructure Committee in September 2025. We have Colin Freeman, Principal Estates and Asset Management Officer, with us to answer any questions. Colin, do you have anything to add to the report?
Good morning, Chair. Nothing further to add.
Okay, so I'll open up now for members' questions and comments. Councillor Hagman.
Thanks, Chair. So, I mean, obviously this is Ward 1, so it's not my own ward, so I'm not familiar with all the community groups, but we're certainly being asked if there's any other groups that have been identified. There's Stranraer Furniture Project and Stranraer Development Trust that have been listed. Have we reached out to the Community Council to ask if they're aware? I'm very aware that community councils cannot take forward any properties as such, but just with having a lot of local representations on there, I just would hate for any other local organisations to be missed out. And just, you know, is it being fully advertised? Just from assurance's point. Thanks.
Colin, can you help with that?
Thank you, Chair. It's not detailed in the report that the Community Council has been reached out to. However, I will look into that and feed back to members.
Thanks, Colin. Kate, are you okay with that?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, we're being asked to note, so I'm quite happy with the recommendations. Thanks.
Councillor Marsh.
Thank you, Chair. It's just a question for Colin on process, really, just for me. It says in the paper on page 143 at 3.1 that it was a request from the tenant that has kind of instigated this process. I just wondered, obviously within the paper we're asking to consult any other relevant community groups, but obviously the tenants have instigated this because they want to buy the units they're in. What is the process now, Colin? How does this unfold from here if this is granted today? Thank you.
Colin.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Marsh. It's our policy and procedure to consult over any community interest in a property that we're looking to sell. This one's quite unique because the process has been instigated by the tenant, but we do need to follow the process and we do need to establish whether there's community interest, because if we get to the point of concluding missives, part of the Scottish Standard clauses is to confirm that there is no community interest in the property that's being sold. Hopefully that answers your question, Councillor Marsh.
Thanks, Colin. Councillor Marsh, is that an answer to your question?
Oh, fantastic, Colin. Oh, much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions on this? Don't see any hands up. No. Okay, we'll move to the recommendations. So members are asked to, 1, note that the buildings and land extending to 2,473 square metres at Woodley Road, Black Parks Industrial Estate, Stranraer, as detailed in the appendices 1 and 2, is surplus to council requirements as detailed in paragraph 3.1. And 2, note that the Community Council and groups listed in paragraph 4.4 in this report have been consulted with regarding potential community interest. And 3, identify any other local groups to be engaged with in regard to the disposal of the buildings and land at Woodley Road, Black Parks Industrial Estate, Stranraer. Are we happy to agree the recommendations? Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Could I just come in just with regards to the Community Council point? Claire, I don't know if we pick that up.
Yeah, sorry, I've got that as an action that's going to be confirmed.
Thanks.
Okay, folks, we're happy with that. Okay, well, that concludes the meeting. Thank you.